Okay.
Okay.
Right.
And then, hey everybody, welcome. This is What's Going On, a show about the community and what's going on around North Carolina. My guest today is Caprice Coleman from Ring of Honor. As I said, this is Caprice Coleman. How you doing, Caprice?
Doing good. How you doing?
Great.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So you work for Ring of Honor and a lot of independent shows, and we met through Ring Wars Carolina.
Right. Yeah.
So explain, how did you get into wrestling?
I've always been a wrestling fan since I was like 3 years old. I remember the first time I turned on TV, I saw Dusty Rhodes and Barry Windham. They was feuding over a boot or something. They called it the Devil in the Boot feud. And I grew up on like NWA wrestling, and then I was really hooked on that. I used to watch it on Saturday mornings at like 11 o'clock, whatever. Nobody else in my house was a wrestling fan, so it was kind of like cartoons were on and wrestling was on at the same time. So I would like wish cartoons would hurry up and get over with so I could watch wrestling, or when the commercial come on and turn over to it, or whatever. The older we got, I was able to have my own TV or whatever like that. Then I only knew about NWA, and around fourth grade, I went to go visit my father in New York, and they was watching WrestleMania that weekend, and I hadn't even really heard of WWE, let alone WrestleMania. But I think this is the WrestleMania King Kong Bundy or maybe Andre the Giant. I don't know exactly which one he was wrestling, but first time I really saw Hulk Hogan, I heard about him and seen him in like magazines, but never like seen him in real life type deal, well, on TV. Mm-hmm. And so I was hooked ever since.
Oh, very cool,
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, how did you get trained? We like to talk about, the training. We had Hang Time on here with Priest, the Tiny Security, and so what was your training like for wrestling?
Training was fun for me. I wrestled all the way through high school and all, and then I met Matt and Jeff, the Hardy Boys.
Okay.
And they, at the time, they weren't signed to the WWE, and they had their own little promotion. At the time, the promotion was like East Coast Wrestling Federation or something like that. Then it morphed into New Frontier Wrestling Federation, and then it ended up being Omega, or whatever. So I was training with them, and I was very small for myself. I'm not a big guy now, but I was very small for my size. And they had a small guy there already, Shannon Moore, that they was training. And so they said I could be a referee. And I said, okay, well, I'll referee for free if that'll help pay for my training. So I didn't have to pay anything, but every time I did a show, I had to referee. I didn't get paid for refereeing or whatever like that. So I started off as a referee, but I was training to be a wrestler. And as I was training, I started putting on a little muscle or whatever like that. And one day Matt came to me and said, we think you're ready. We want to put you on or whatever. But I was really young or whatever. And but I was with them for a long time, traveling up and down the roads and all. And a lot of times when I would travel as the referee for them because a lot of other guys couldn't really ref their matches or whatever because of their style. And so, and then sometimes I get to wrestle on my own.
Very cool, very cool. So you're trained by Matt and Jeff. Mm-hmm. Out of the two, who did you train with the most?
Matt.
It was Matt. Okay.
Jeff kind of does his own thing, or whatever. And Jeff would be working on moves and all. We would wrestle around, but Matt is more of the, he's more of the let's do this, let's do that. He was real scientific about it, and Jeff just likes to have fun. I mean, he's gonna be scientific about it, but he's out to have a good time, and so Matt was more of the trainer or whatever, and Jeff was more of the show you how to do cool moves type deal. And me and him would sit down and just make up moves and stuff like try them out on each other, stuff like that.
Very cool, very cool. Okay, so now you're trained with Omega, and so they get recruited to WWE, get trained by WWE guys. Now, what happens to Omega? It folds at that point, right?
Yeah, and I mean they didn't just like leave us high and dry. We knew they had got signed, and it was kind of wanting them to get signed because they deserved it, or whatever. At that time, also I was kind of young. I was like 17, 18 years old, so I really didn't know how significant it was, or whatever. But Shannon and Shane Helms, they went to NWA Wildside, and I was gonna go down there with them, but I had broke my ankle at another show, or whatever, and I was out for like 3 months or whatever like that. And the 3 months that I was out, they had went down to NWA Wildside and got signed to WCW.
Yeah.
And we're gone. And I was like, man, I missed that boat, But they left a good word for me down at NWA Wildside. And when I healed up, I went there and I stayed there. Was faithful to them down in Georgia, traveling like every weekend, every other weekend, to stay down there to do shows with them. And then a lot of things spawned from there.
Right. Okay. So, and this is for like all those upcoming wrestlers that are watching, still in the indies. When you go to NWA Wildside, you still had a full-time job, and you're working, and basically you're basically working at these shows just to support the habit of wrestling,
right?
Which you're even still paying into that,
right? And the thing with NWA Wildside, I think is different. And even now there's a lot of indie shows that I guess the promoter has in mind that he wants to be as big as Vince McMahon or whatever. The indie promoters, they want to have their own promotion, and they're thinking one day, they'd be better than WWE or whatever like that, or have their own promotion that'll compete with WWE. But Wildside had the mindset of, we're going to be good, and hopefully we be good enough to where somebody up there sees you and they pull you from us, like that. So that's the mindset they had. So Bill Behrens was there, and after my matches, he'd be waiting on me, and he'd pretty much tell me, what I did good, what I did wrong, and all. He was critiquing, and coming from Matt and Jeff from Omega and all, we started being known as the spotty guys or whatever, because Jeff and Matt, they did a lot of high flying, and today it's not that big, but in the late 90s it was kind of like new,
exactly,
or whatever. So we was known as those guys. So they was like, don't be a spot monkey or whatever like that. So learning those things, how to make things make sense. And of course Matt and Jeff learned it later, but they got signed because of the crazy stuff they were doing, and they were humble enough to want to learn more about it.
Very cool. Okay, so how many years did you spend working primarily indies before Ring of Honor?
A long time. I'd say even maybe 7-8 years, because I had did the different stuff like WWE, like dark matches and TNA and all, but nothing really stuck. And I mean, for a long time, WWE was looking at me, but they never gave me anything like, okay, you can get a job. They always said, hey, keep coming back. And guys there really liked me, but it seemed like every time I was getting ready to get signed with them, the person that was getting ready to sign me would get fired, or they would rotate or something like that, and all. So it never happened. Push come to shove, 3 years of doing that, I really got into debt really bad, because I'm thinking, okay, one day I'm gonna make it, one day we're gonna make it. So I was really sacrificing for the business, and really start getting into debt. And so I had to find a job to where I could pay all this stuff off, and I ended up finding a job overseas to pay off my credit card bills and pay off my college loans and all that. And I was planning on only be there for a year, but I hadn't got married, and before we left, and what turned out to be 1 year ended up being 3 years, or whatever. My family came over with me, and we just lived there for a while. And so I pretty much figured that, I don't even know if I'm going to wrestle anymore, because we was doing very good overseas with the money we was making, and I really had no worries. And I mean, we was able to pay off the bills and all, so it was kind of like we were just able to live. But then I really started itching again. I watch TV and all, and I see that some of the guys that I was wrestling with, them getting signed. I'm like, man, if I would have just stayed there, if I would have just stayed there or whatever like that, that could have been me. And in Kuwait, it was illegal. Wrestling was illegal.
Oh, wow.
Because WWE did a tour there like in '93 or something like that, and Vader was on like a talk show much like this.
Yes, I do remember
that. And he ended
up
beating up the guy or whatever like that, so they banned wrestling from there. So I went on a campaign to try to get the ban lifted from Kuwait or whatever. And I don't know how successful I was about it, but during the time that I was doing that, there was somebody else trying to start a wrestling promotion there, but not really a wrestling promotion. They wanted a wrestling event where they was bringing in different wrestlers from different countries and all. And they had them from, Kuwait, from every country. They had a wrestler, had this big tournament or whatever. And so I contacted the promoter, and I gave them my videos and all, and they asked me if I would represent America. And they had, I think they had Gangrel was there, but he's not really like an American. I mean, he kind of stands out on his own, but he was from America.
Right.
And then they had a wild Samoan, a loafer. There, they were like the Americans there, but they wanted an American.
Right.
American. So they let me be the American in the tournament, and we had a really good time. And I was getting in shape for that, and just pretty much getting my cardio up. I had lost a lot of weight, muscle-wise, but I was like, if I just get my cardio up, I can just do, the stuff that I used to do, or whatever like that. Just kind of get by, see how it felt. And when I stepped from behind that curtain the first night, I wrestled a guy from Mexico, and that was just my style, And man, we tore it up, and it was from people that I've never seen before. It was Arabic people, and they loved it, and the blood started boiling again.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I was like, it's on. So I finished the tour with them, and then I really started getting back into shape. And I told my wife, I was like, we got to go home. I said, we got to go home. And she was wanting to go home, too, because my son was 4 years old at the time, and he was going to a British American school, and we was paying for it. And it almost started to be just as expensive there to live there as it was in America, or whatever, because we paying for private schools for him and then the other bills that we had accumulated. So the time was just right to come home, and I was in good shape, and I figured when I got home, something would happen, or whatever. When I got home, I went back down to Wildside. The name had changed to Anarchy, or whatever, and I started doing indie stuff, and then Ring of Honor called me up, WWE called me up, and I was basically doing dark matches type stuff with WWE, but it never even went that far because I think they were just bringing me in to see if I still had it or whatever like that, but I never ended up getting to show much because it was almost like starting all the way over. When I left, when I would go to WWE, I knew pretty much everybody in the dressing room.
Right.
When I got back, it was like a whole bunch of people I've never met before. So it was kind of like starting all over again, or like paying your dues all over again. So it was pretty much I would have to do the same thing I was doing before I left overseas, like the same amount of shows or whatever to get recognized again. It was frustrating. Mm-hmm. I never tried to burn a bridge or anything like that, but then Ring of Honor brought me in, and the booker had changed to Hunter, and he was down at Wildside with me, so he knew me pretty well. And he said, man, I just want to see if you're still able to do the stuff you was able to do before you went overseas. And I was like, okay, cool. And I knew that I was able to do even more because I was smarter about it, because all the injuries that I had before I left, I had bad knees, back trouble, and all. I was able to heal. And so once I healed up with the 3 years I had taken off, once I had healed up, I thought about the stuff that I was doing that continuously got me injured, not just in the ring, but the way I was working out and all, because I was also into powerlifting and all, and doing deadlifts, and I competed overseas doing deadlifts and all. But that's how my back got messed up. Mm-hmm. And so I changed my workout regimen, and I feel now that, I'm smarter than I was, and I'm in it for longevity now.
Awesome.
So
very cool. Very cool. Now, being with Ring of Honor, there's definitely, I feel Ring of Honor is a little bit more family friendly than TNA and WWE at times. Okay. Of course, WWE's gone the PG rating right now, so they're whatever that means for them. Now, how do you feel? Do you feel the same way, or does it still have its junk in it?
The only way I can explain that is I truly feel that maybe the bigger the promotion, the more entertainment, the less the wrestling. Okay. And the only way I can explain that is we had an equation like WWE is pretty much 75% entertainment, 25% wrestling. They try to hook you with the entertainment, then they have a wrestling match. I would say TNA is 50% wrestling, 50% entertainment. They try to hook you with both there. And I would say Ring of Honor is 75% wrestling, 25% entertainment. Mm-hmm. We have the wrestling is our showcase, but we have the characters, the good guys, the bad guys, and all that. But our main showcase is wrestling. And all. So to stay on the PG is kind of easy because we don't have crazy storylines that will get messed up that way. Our storylines are in the ring. Mm-hmm. Our athleticism and our charisma and all is what we sell our merchandise on, wrestling, the way it used to be. Okay,
very cool, very cool. All right, kind of a transition, but still part of your life, your faith. Mm-hmm. You're a Christian, you're a minister. Mm-hmm. Now, can you kind of give us a little taste of your testimony?
Basically this, I was raised up in the church. and all. I was called to preach when I was 14 years old.
Okay.
And all, and I worked in like a bus route at a church in Aberdeen, and all, and I felt my calling. I was having dreams of preaching. You know, I had a vision one time, and I know it sounds crazy, but you asked me for a testimony.
Go right ahead, man.
That there was somebody in the middle of the road, like a little kid in the middle of the road, and cars were coming, and like people on the side of the road was yelling like, "Get out the road! Get out the road! Get out the road! Get out the road!" And I was like, surely this guy hears what these people are saying, or whatever.
You're fine.
But nobody could understand it. And I told him the same thing. I said, get out the road. But he heard me. Mm-hmm. And he got out the road and didn't get hit by a car. And I thought about that. I was like, what does that mean? What does that mean? And then God revealed to me that I had a ministry to where some people that, younger people or even older people that can't understand King James or can't understand, the church lingo or whatever like that. I had my own people to relate to.
Yes.
To where they pretty much, when you go to church, the message is the same. Mm-hmm. You accept Jesus Christ as your Savior, be born again, live for Him. You die, you go to heaven. That's pretty much the plan of salvation. He forgive you for your sins and all. But you hear it from different people. If your mom and dad are telling you one thing, and you're like, okay, whatever, mom and dad. But somebody that you respect tells you the same thing. You're like, oh, mom and dad were right, or whatever. And I realized that my ministry was a type ministry to where I would be able to reach people that maybe not even go into the church, or I would be able to talk to people and communicate to people on their level to where they can understand what I'm saying, maybe more than they can understand a pastor that's speaking King James or speaking above their head or whatever. Not that they're wrong or anything like that. It's just everybody hears different.
Absolutely.
Or whatever. And the same thing like that was telling that guy in the middle of the road to get out the road. I understand what they were saying, but the guy only understood it when I said it. Mm-hmm. So that kind of ironed it out for me, what my calling would be.
That's very cool. It's very interesting because, like you, I know there's a calling. Mm-hmm. I know that my calling is not going to be on the pulpit.
Right.
I do know that. Mm-hmm. I think mine is behind this camera. Mm-hmm. That's where, I think this show right here is opening up for more ministers to come out that are not just, pastor of so-and-so church.
Right.
And so, I think that what you're doing now is even going to be a breakthrough for somebody.
I 100% agree. I feel that I've been blessed in the position that I'm in because when I talked to WD the first time, I was talking to John Laurinaitis about character and all, and the first thing he brought up to me was, being a gangster, or whatever. I'm like, I'm not a gangster. What I'm saying? It would be fake or whatever. I kind of had my idea of what I wanted to do, but who was I to tell John Laurinaitis what I wanted to do? But he wanted me to try to, work on being a thug and all this stuff, like a stereotypical thing. And I was like, no, I said, that's not me, and this is me. Not that he was offering me a part, but he was like, basically, I look like the average everyday person. I need something to stand out. And I understand now what he was talking about, but I wasn't willing to sell out to, okay, I'm going to try being a thug or whatever, because I believe your best character, and I know we're not on that yet, is yourself times 10. Myself times 10 is probably the furthest thing from a gangster.
Right.
Or whatever. But I said that to say this. I turned on the TV overseas, and first thing I see about a year later was Crime Time, or whatever. But Ring of Honor, they allowed me to be me. Yeah. They called on to the ministry that I'm doing, and the booker knows me very well. And also they said, why don't we just use you as your character? So I'm blessed in a way that where when I'm wrestling, they say, okay, he's an ordained minister, he's this and that. And I don't have to be quoting Bible verses and all that. Basically, my character is I'm a preacher that can wrestle and entertain. And I can compete at a very high level of entertainment, and with hopes of being the best at that level. And they respect that, and my storyline is good. I'm tagging with Cedric, and basically like I'm his mentor because I'm a lot older than a lot of the younger guys there because I've been in it for so long. I just never had my break. And Ring of Honor is kind of like my break, but it's at an age to where, I'm 35 years old, and a lot of times when guys get signed to the majors, they're in their early 20s or whatever. If y'all hear something, that's my daughter. She's watching the movie now. I'm babysitting today. Yeah, so they allow me to be me. And with Cedric, it's like kind of mentoring him. But I also realized too that the shape that I've changed myself into, when I'm in the locker room and all, and the doctor checks us, we have a doctor that checks us before we go out, heart rate and all that. Even though I'm one of the older guys in the locker room, my heart rate and blood pressure is better than everybody in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that shows me that I've been preserved for this time that God has allowed me. And I can't take it for granted because I could have been overlooked. There's a lot of guys out there that I feel are talented, and some even more talented than I am. But I've been given a chance to do what I do, and I'm not going there on talent alone. I'm able to bring what I have with me, my faith with me, and not just I'm going in there with my Bible and all that. I live it behind the scenes to where they respect it, and so they allow me to. They work with me on it,
right?
And they respect me for that. And so I thank God for that, for being positioned to where I can talk on TV or whatever like that, and be a representative for Christ with my character, and not have to worry about it being contaminated or something like that.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, being pro wrestler, being a preacher. Are you invited to schools? Are you invited to churches?
Yeah,
often.
I do motivational speeches and all,
Okay.
and depends on where I'm going to. Depends on how they're going to introduce me. Sometimes it's pro wrestler so and so. Sometimes I'm just Minister Coleman. Sometimes I'm Pastor Coleman, or whatever. So it opens up more venues for me to speak at other places, schools and youth events, and regular churches or whatever like that. So it's an open tool, and I believe that people that know me. Once they see what I'm doing, they still respect it, even though a lot of people don't understand, because pro wrestling is a contaminated sport. A lot of young people like it, but there's a lot of things on there that aren't good for anybody to be watching. But I also feel that if they're going to be watching it, I can be that one that when they watch it, I can be that one that's a light in there,
right?
That might not only that they might not only be able to relate to, but somebody that's not going to step foot in the church can see that, hey, this church guy is there. And he's competing at a high level, and he's good, And so that's what I want to do.
Very cool, very cool. Now getting to character. Okay. I've seen you in the locker room. You kind of stick to yourself. Now you cut up with everybody. I have seen that, and you're not stuck up. You don't just not talk to anybody, but you do kind of stay to your own for a minute. And so now, in that process, are you getting into character? Are you becoming Caprice Coleman, the wrestler, or is that the same person?
I believe me. I'm a people. I try to stay approachable, but I also the only way I can explain it is the wrestling business is a cutthroat business. And sometimes some people say that the reason why hadn't got discovered yet. Or whatever. Did you win? Good job.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yep. Go back over there.
Daddy on call.
Yeah. But I lost my train of thought.
Okay, we're talking about
character. Yeah.
Your character.
Yeah. So what I do is I just don't put myself in certain situations, because even at work or whatever job, sometimes you get so in tune with the people there. You forget about the work that you're doing, and then you get in an argument with somebody there, and then they end up getting fired, or you getting fired because of an altercation that happened with your friend at work, but it's no longer your friend or whatever like that. And I try to carry myself to where I'm approachable at all times, but I'm not the type of person that's going to go hang out and go do this or get in a lot of mess,
right?
Because people are watching me, wherever I go, and I have a integrity to live up to, and a testimony to live up to. And not that I stay away because people are bad now, but a lot of times I'm just there, I'm thinking or whatever like that, and if somebody talks to me, I talk to them. Sometimes I go up, I make sure I speak to everybody, and all, but then it's like it's time to get to work, and all. And then sometimes when I'm sitting by myself, it gives other people an opportunity, like you come up and sit and talk to me, and all. And I just try to carry myself approachable, but I don't, a lot of things, because I'm a lot older, I can't relate to a lot of the things that are going on in the locker room now. And a lot of the jokes and stuff that's going on is I really don't need to participate in anyway.
Right.
So I just kind of, I keep to myself, but I stay approachable, if that makes sense.
I got you. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, being the video guy, I mean, with Ring of Honor, I really have not noticed a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, as in what you're talking about. There are jokes that go on, of course, and they all know my level with my faith and Christianity, so they know that certain ones, like some people, they say something, they're like, "Oh, sorry, Josh." You know,
Yeah.
It's one of
course,
those like,
respect. Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's okay, man. I mean, I wasn't really paying attention at that point.
I say, I'm not the man. I just work for him. You know, and a sorry person, I'm like, hey, I'm not the man. I just work for him. But it's good that they respect that.
Exactly, yeah. And you know, at Ring Wars Carolina has really been they've been a blessing to me. One, I'm being able to put two of my favorite things together with that, you know, video and wrestling. Been a wrestling fan since I was probably 5 years old. My grandmother got me into it. And, you know, now having you here, I'm able to put three of my favorite things together. Ministry,
Right.
you know, wrestling and camera.
Okay.
You know, so like, you know, it's really been a great thing to come. Now, let's talk about your experience. I've been with you for 2 shows with Ring Wars Carolina. Now, how many shows have you done with them?
I really don't know. Me and Eddie, we go back a long time. When I was training to be a wrestler, he wrestled with Omega sometimes. He came in through Steve Corino when Matt and Jeff brought Steve Corino in. Steve Corino had his guys he was training. He was training like C.W. Anderson, Eddie Brown, and Q. It was CW was training like Q-Stick. It was like a whole group. Joey Matthews, Mike Maverick, and all. They kind of came as a group that I think Matt and Jeff met on the road, and they would invite them to the Omega shows or whatever. So we all kind of knew each other from those days. So we always kept in touch. And also I would do shows with them when I was in town or whatever like that. And then anytime he has something going on, if I'm not booked, you know, I try to stay as busy as possible. I know he's going to take care of me. You know, he's not going to put me in with somebody I'm going to get hurt with or somebody's just crazy or whatever. And I could have a good match. I could stay in shape. And it's not too far from my house because I stay like 45 minutes away from where he has his shows at. And I get wrestling time in and I get to hang out with my friends or whatever there. So
very cool. This last event was for Sergeant Monty Bernardo, and that was with Ring Wars Carolina, which the DVD will be ready very soon. You were approached by Hector, Dirty Hector.
Yeah.
So explain how that came about. You know, what was if you can give a brief summary of what the conversation was, you know, and what was it like working with Hector?
You know, when he asked me to do it, he just shot me an email on Facebook. He said, I got a favor to ask. He said they want to do a fundraiser for a soldier that got wounded in the military. That was all he had to say. You know, I looked at my calendar. I was free. I was like, no. I said, I'll be there, you know, because we did another one for a friend of mine, Chuck Coates. Cancer. We helped raise to pay off his cancer bills. The bills he got from that, and we raised a lot of money for him. And I was like, you know, that's a no-brainer for me,
right? To
be able to do something, you know, to help somebody out like that. People pay to see a good wrestling match, and it's helping him. That was cool. So it was cool. And working with Hector, I mean, it was kind of like the same Ring Wars, because Eddie and Hang Time made sure that Hector realized that this is not easy stuff or whatever. So they helped him out a lot. He just pretty much did the booking and all. And it was funny because Hang Time and Eddie were like ribbing him the whole time, like trying to make it hard for him and all. So that was fun to watch, because I remember when I did some shows on my own, they weren't hard. And me and him was wrestling, me and Hector. And he was all nervous because he had so much stuff going on, and he didn't know if he'd be able to prepare for the match we was going to have. I said, don't worry about it. You know, you do your thing. I said, I'm going to take care of you. Don't worry about it. You know, we'll go out there and have a good time or whatever. So that was the gist of that. And working was fine. I mean, I was glad I had the opportunity to be able to do it.
Yeah, and it was a great match. I just actually finished editing the match with 2 cameras.
Okay.
So it was a great match. I watched it a couple times.
Cool.
But very cool. Now, what do you have coming up with Ring of Honor? As we're taping this will not air until next Thursday.
Okay.
So you've got something coming up tomorrow.
Right. I'll be in Chicago tomorrow. We got a pay-per-view 11th anniversary, and we're going to be wrestling. Me and Cedric are going to be wrestling Scum, Steve Corino and Jimmy Jacobs. We've been feuding with them, and basically Scum is a faction that's in Ring of Honor that basically trying to destroy Ring of Honor or whatever. And the storyline with us is, we're two guys that have been trying to get discovered for a long time. And here are these two guys that have been here's this group that's discovered and trying to tear down something that we've been working hard to get to.
Right.
And so it's kind of like good versus evil type deal, like the worker man trying to, keep his job, and there's people inside the plant that's trying to mess everything up, trying to sabotage it or whatever. So that's our feud there. And we've been feuding now for maybe 3 or 4 months since Scum came up, led by Kevin Steen or whatever. And so that's what we're working with now. So it's kind of like a grudge match now because they've had Rhino has been interfering in our matches and all. He's kind of like their hired hitman or whatever. Come right here. Their hired hitman. So that's the story behind that. Those are my sneakers. Those are cool.
Cool. Well, we wish you luck on that. That's going to be an internet pay-per-view. Now, will there be a video available afterwards?
Yeah, there of course there'll always be a video later, and then the iPay-per-view. You can go to the Ring of Honor website, Ring of Honor wrestling.com, and just type in iPay-per-view, whatever you can pay for it on the site. You can order DVDs from the site or whatever, and it's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, because by the time this airs, you'd already won or lost. Most likely win.
That's right. That's right. We're tired of these guys.
That's right. That's right. Well, cool. Now, do you got any speaking engagements coming up that you'd like to promote of any sort?
Well, I'm assistant pastor at my church, and it's pretty much whenever the pastor's not available, I preach. I have my own service, but we're actually getting ready for his anniversary. Okay. Celebrating that. I'm actually gonna miss that, but I'm getting I'm getting a lot of behind the scenes stuff done to prepare for the Sunday, and we have our Soldiers for Christ, which is our men's ministry, where we basically we've adopted some families and all that less fortunate to raise money for them, and we have a men's shelter to where guys that have came, homeless guys or guys that come out of prison, to help them get a new start in life. It's like a 6-month program we do. There we have a women's ministry, which is a lot the same. Women that, may have, lost their way or got out of prison or something like that and just starting over again. We give them like a 6-month plan, get them a job and all, and help them get on feet, and then they move out. It kind of rotates like that. So that's why I've been helping out with that type of stuff.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it sounds like you're just always busy. You don't ever have a day off. So, but thank you for coming.
Ain't no problem.
And your little daughter, thank you.
Gabby, talking to you.
All right. Well, this has been What's Going On. As always, we thank Sand Hills Music Center for allowing us to use their location, Matt Crump. And we thank Caprice Coleman for coming out. We thank Ring of Honor for allowing him to come out, and his wife. And if you need any video work done, call Heisel Media Productions at 910-987-3202. And you can also email me at hysell_Joshua@yahoo.com. I'm available for weddings, music videos, sermons, absolutely any video work at all. Give me a call. And if you come to Sand Hills Music, tell them that you watched the show and you're looking for the discount. Take care.
Caprice Coleman is at Caprice Coleman on Twitter. I'd like to tell everybody thank you for watching and follow your dreams. You never know when it's going to happen, but if you got something inside of you that you're doing, work as hard as you can to be the best at it, and don't let anybody tell you can't do it. And I believe you can also follow your dreams and get paid to do what you love to do.
Very cool. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good.
All right. Well, take care, everybody. So we're having